Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Studio 78 podcast. I am your host, Nache from NacheSnow.com. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have this season's guest co-host with me, LaKaye Umba. Welcome, LaKaye.
Hey, Nache, happy to be here.
Yes, yes. Today we're talking about Enneagrams and astrology, so can't wait to dig into that. If you love today's episode, please head over to Apple Podcasts and rate me 5 stars. I would greatly appreciate it. If you're listening on YouTube, please give me a thumbs up. And if you think this would benefit someone, sharing is caring, my friend. So please share away. And if we mention anything on this episode, which I'm sure we will, that requires a link, remember you can go over to the show notes, nachesnow.com/134. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right in here and we're going to start off talking about Enneagrams. And so if you guys are like, what the heck is an Enneagram? Know that the Enneagram is a system of personality typing that describes patterns in how people interpret the world and manage their emotions. And the Enneagram describes 9 personality types and maps each of these types on a 9-pointed diagram, which helps to illustrate how the types relate to one another. So neither LaKaye or I are Enneagram experts. So no, we're not going to go too deep into the science of this. So please do your research. We'll include some links in the show notes. But both of us really resonated with this personality test because it was like scary accurate. And it's
It was
interesting.
accurate for you.
Oh
Sorry.
my God. Okay. But the first time you took it, you felt like it was accurate. And the second time you took it, I think you're just in denial.
Okay, proceed.
But, what I will say, even before we get started and talk about just the 9 personality types, just to give you guys a flavor for how the test breaks down the types, is it was interesting connecting 3 things. Like, I've taken the Myers-Briggs test and I am an ENTJ, extroverted, intuitive, thinking, and judging. And there is actually only a small percentage of people who test as ENTJ, and women, that percentage gets even smaller. And what I thought was interesting as I was like doing my research, this one article said Aries tend to be ESTJ or ENTJs. So there's already a connection with ENTJ in my astrological sign. And we'll get into it more. But what's funny is what they say about Aries, ENTJs, and 8s, which is what my personality Enneagram tests are. It's like all the same. So I can't
You
even
agree
deny.
at all times.
Exactly. This is my personality. There is nothing I can do about it. There are 3 separate things that say that this is me. So let's just get into the 9 Enneagram type descriptions. LaKaye, can you kick us off with Enneagram 1?
So we're just going to look at the brief descriptions. I'm not going to bore you with the whole paragraphs. So if you are a number 1, it's called the reformer. And the description is the rational, idealistic type, principled, purposeful, self controlled, and perfectionistic.
Mm. Okay. And I will say too, we're going to like list these off, see which one you resonate with, but we also are going to talk about the different places where you could go and take the test so you can really see which one the test says you are. So the second Enneagram type is the helper. These people tend to be caring. Interpersonal types tend to be demonstrative, generous, people pleasing, and at their worst, possessive.
Number 3 is the achiever. They tend to be success oriented, pragmatic types, adaptive, excelling, driven, and image conscious.
I will say too about these is what I love about it is they give the good and the bad of your personality type. Like you
I,
at your
I think
worst
it's
and your
I think it's
best.
interesting that you think it's bad. I don't know that image conscious is bad, and I don't know that possessive is necessarily bad.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, you know what? I will take that word bad away because, but I, but when we get into the descriptions, it does say something like at their worst. So, which kind of means not good if you're kind of extremely possessive, extremely image conscious, extremely perfectionist, like an extreme perfectionist for the reformer. Those are not healthy if taken too far. So I will avoid using the word bad because that's like such a negative word to use, but they are definitely, you know, things you should kind of avoid.
I don't know. I just think that I think people have all of these elements within them, and it's just something. I think anything in it in excess can be bad. So
That
I don't know.
is
I'm just saying I don't know if the way that these things are written is always in the good to bad
okay,
or on
but
this
okay,
list.
but okay. So number 4, right? I'm number 4. Did you just which one did you just do?
You're on number 4.
Yeah. So number 4, the individualist, for example, right? It says the sensitive. They're kind of the withdrawn type, expressive, dramatic, self-absorbed, and temperamental. Temperamental? That's a good thing.
Is dramatic a good thing?
Sometimes.
Self-absorbed?
Well, and that's why they're giving kind of like I feel the good and the bad, right? Expressive is good, dramatic can be good, self-absorbed, too much of it could be ugh, and then temperamental, ugh.
I think that as the bossy 8 that you are, you're just giving your own definitions when we're supposed to be open-minded.
Number 5.
Number 5, the investigator, the intense cerebral type. The best one here. uh,
Yeah, let's hear these.
Perceptive, innovative, secretive, and can sometimes possibly be isolated.
Sometimes possibly that's funny. That's not like kind of written on there. That sometimes possibly, but okay. Number 6, the loyalist, the committed, security oriented type, meaning engaging, responsible, anxious, and sometimes suspicious.
Number 7, the enthusiast, the busy, fun loving type, spontaneous, versatile, distractible, and scattered.
Yeah.
How did you get to read number 8 yourself? Go
Isn't
ahead.
that I mean it just kind of landed in my lap just like an 8. Number 8, the challenger, which I am. The powerful, dominating type, self confident, decisive, willful, and confrontational.
Just a little bit.
Maybe a tiny little bit.
And rounding it out, number 9. 9 is actually my favorite number, so I'm glad I get to read this one. 9 is the peacemaker. The peacemaker is easygoing, self-effacing type, receptive, reassuring, agreeable, and complacent.
Mm, nice. So, for you guys listening out there, those are the 9 different Enneagram types. I like the EnneagramInstitute.com. It's $12 to take the test. However, and I like the reports they give, the people that put together that site, they actually have several books out that you can also purchase on Enneagrams and what they mean and what your Enneagram means. But know that if you're like $12 is a little too much, they have several free tests out there. Truity, Cloverleaf, Crystal, I think is another one. And there's like a few more out there, and we'll list them in the show notes. If you do the free test, it is recommended, like based on all the articles that I've read, that maybe you take a couple of the tests to see if like your number changes or not, so you can get as close to as possible to your personality test. But we will link all of those in the show notes. I've only taken the one from the Institute, but LaKaye has actually taken two. You took the Institute, and where else did you take it?
I took the Truity one first, and that's what I've been going on. So this whole time I was thinking I was a 7. I was happy with that, you know. And then I took the fancy one that cost me money, and they called me a 5. And frankly, I'm offended by that.
Okay, but here's the thing, right? This is what you guys need to know about LaKaye, because I'm just gonna like bust her right now. I think when LaKaye took the first test, she answered the questions based on who she wanted to be. And the second test, she was honest with the answers, which you should be, so you can get the most accurate results. And that was a little disappointing to her.
Yeah. What I think is Nache just took one test, and because she got the answer that she liked.
But here's the
kidding.
thing.
I'm kidding.
I don't necessarily like that one, because eights, just like ENTJs and just like Aries, I think sometimes could tend to be, even though there are a lot of positive words surrounding those personality types, like leader and this and that, there's also a lot of negative words surrounding that, like bullies and like super outspoken and this and that. And I really consider myself a chill person, and I don't know if maybe it's I've known not to be too overwhelming and domineering over time. So when I kind of test to that personality, I sometimes wonder like how well I've done making sure I'm balanced, if that makes sense.
The thing that is about you that fits the 8 so well is that you are very everything that starts with the 8 on, I don't care what page you're reading, starts with self-confident and domineering. But that lends itself to your business life. It fits in with that, but you do your things with a smile. And I would also challenge you to ask your friends if they think that you're a little bit of a bully, but a bully in a
I already
good
know what
way.
they're going to say, though.
No, go ahead.
I don't want
They
to ask
don't?
them. I said,
Yeah.
I already know what they're going to say. And I already know what you're going to say. You don't even count. I'm not even going to ask you. LaKaye is now an ex-friend. I'm sorry. Am I being a bully? I'm sorry. But wait, we should tell people what we are. So know what the Enneagram types, the results are like what your highest scores are, but then they'll have like your second, and sometimes your second, like my second is tied with 2. So I'm a type A, 8, excuse me, type 8.
You said it right.
That's why I don't like her. I'm a type 8, the challenger, and my next highest scores was a 3 and a 5, which were tied, which is the achiever is number 3, and number 5, the investigator. So what were you, LaKaye?
So when I took the Truity test, I was a 7 and a 5. Those were my 2 highest, and everything else was pretty even. But when I took the one on the Enneagram website, I was a what did I put it? I was a 5, and then I'm very upset about that, and a 6 and a 9.
Oh, interesting. I can
Yeah.
see that, the Peacemaker. I
Right,
can
and then
kind
here
of
you
see
come with all
that.
your drama and just kidding. I tease Nache. People are gonna be like, "Well, I've heard Nache's interviews. She's not a bully at all. She's a bully to her friends because she cares."
Thank you. I wouldn't say bully. I'm just very firm.
I'll see. Oh, firm. Sorry.
I think now, I think it would be good just to talk about reading the test and how you can learn from it and use it, right? So, for example, for me, even in reading different articles about how to use the Enneagram test, they compare, some articles said you can compare it to astrology a little bit, where, you read it, figure out if it does resonate with you, like based on the description. And then from there, if it does, like use that information to figure out how you can use it to do whatever, better your life, achieve goals. Because if you understand who you are, then you can figure out how you should operate in order to make moves. And so when I read the 8, I was like, yeah, that's me. I was like,
Let me
Uh,
read the longer description. Oh, so I went to this website called design.org, and because I wanted
mm,
to come to it from a designer's perspective. I know we have a lot of creatives who are involved, who listen to your podcast. So when I was looking at the types and I was looking at number 8, wait. I thought this was a perfect description of you. It says, because type 8s like to control their environments, creativity isn't usually considered a hallmark quality of theirs. That part's not true. That said, an 8's desire to be independent and their willingness to fight for what they believe in can inspire their creative side to shine through. And so how I felt that related is that you you love to be creative, but you also are very, I don't, is practical is the word? You have a definite thing that you want to accomplish, and you want to accomplish this through your creativity, and you
mm.
are pushing that through. That's how I read that.
It's interesting. I've taken a lot of different types of tests, and I think this one resonated with me because there was just a lot of things that ring true. And I can totally see what you're saying and how that kind of relates to me and how I operate. But there's this other paragraph that I read, and as soon as I read it, I was like, dang, it's like these people have looked into my soul.
Yeah, read that one.
And it was the one that said many eights have some kind of dream for themselves in their inner circle. And being the practical minded people that they are, this often involves money making projects,
Hmm.
business ventures, philanthropy, and the like. They may start and run their own business or set someone else up in a situation or simply play the lotto on a regular basis. Not all eights have a lot of money, but most are looking for some kind of big break that would give them independence, respect, and a sense of power that they typically want. They can also be highly competitive, enjoying the challenges and risk of their own enterprises. They are
Hmm.
hardworking and pragmatic, rugged individuals and wheeler dealers who are always thinking of a new angle and constantly have a new project underway.
That's it. That is it. But you also you apply all of those sensibilities to your design skills and your creativity and your projects. Like when you took on glass, you were like, "Listen, I'm going to be the best glass maker there is. I'm going straight for anthropology." And you didn't say, let me sell a couple to see." You went directly for straight arrow. I'm going to be a success at this. I'm going to be the best. Glass has never met someone like me.
Go hard or go home.
Right,
What's this
right.
everybody get a trophy crap? there's, there's winners and losers, my friends.
Now you can see who
Okay.
you really are.
So, I mean, so it'd be interesting. Let's get into yours.
Oh, wait. Let me read one more thing about eights before we move on to me. I was on this other site that was talking about Enneagram personalities. It's called "What's an Entrepreneur's Enneagram Personality and What Their Type Says About Them." And so, just briefly, okay, guess who was listed as the challenger on this site?
Who?
Steve Jobs.
Steve.
As the title suggests, the challenger won't back down in a fight and will push to get their way no matter the consequences. There are definitely healthy challengers who don't break people in order to get what they want, but this could be the path some fall prey to. These individuals are most determined and stubborn of all the Enneagram types. When they've achieved an optimum level of healthy evolution, they can be inspired and display remarkable self control. So I just thought it was so interesting because they pulled like all of these types out, and you got Steve Jobs. And I just think that is such a natural pairing because he demanded the best out of his employees, and either they were going to fall in line or they had to go.
Because you want the best.
And
I
also his
mean, but
creative instincts to even make to be so design forward with the Apple products
mm-hmm.
and realize how that was going to relate to the larger population.
I understood Steve's crazy.
And and
But so here's the thing, like on the little thing it says eights get into conflict by being blunt, willful, domineering, forceful, defiant, confrontational, bad-tempered, rageful, cynical, and vengeful.
and see, I don't think you're all of those things. I think you might have those tendencies, but I think you're very balanced in how you apply them.
And my whole thing is because whenever you see these personality tests, they tell you what you could be at your worst, right? And
Hmm.
so for me, I think, and of course, anyone who knows me out there could let me know if this is true or not. But what I do is I try to make sure that I'm not gonna be the worst Aries, ENTJ, or eight. Like I realized that maybe I can take up a lot of space in the room because not only am I extrovert, I'm freaking 6'1" and I'm loud. So I think I've learned over time that to be quiet, to listen, to just to be a little bit more thoughtful. So even though maybe my personality type can go there, I think this is like how you learn from tests like this, right? You know to kind of watch for it so it doesn't go there and you're only exhibiting the best qualities of your personality type.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
So, let's get to you, the 5.
See, let me tell you why I disagree with some of this. Okay.
Why don't you start with the parts you agree with?
Oh yeah, that's another thing that she pointed out that I typically start with the negative. Anyway,
Which we're gonna. I think it says something about that in here. Okay, go ahead.
so I'll read type 5 in brief. Fives are alert, insightful, and curious. They are able to concentrate and focus on developing complex ideas and skills. Independent, innovative, and inventive, they can also become preoccupied with their thoughts and imaginary constructs. They become detached, high strung, and intense. They typically have problems with eccentricity, nihilism, and isolation. At their best, visionary pioneers, often
But
ahead of their time and able to see the world in an entirely new way. Just sounds so boring.
it's not boring. I
It
mean,
is.
focused, observant, curious, insightful. I'm like, that's you. Studious, complex. You just feel like it's stuffy. You don't want to be that, but that is you.
You know what? I take offense to this whole conversation.
Would you consider yourself, because they say 5s are usually unsentimental, would you consider yourself sentimental?
No.
Yeah,
So
not.
I think where I got into trouble, well, the disconnect for me was a lot of the questions were about when you're taking a test, there's a lot of either or situations. So they pair up two things and you have to pick which one sounds more like you on a regular day. So a lot of stuff was like, do you care? I was like, no, I don't.
I mean, so okay, listening. Okay, check.
It was
Unsentimental.
like, do you need other people around all the time, or do you like spending time by yourself? I was like, people schmeeple. But but I don't know that that's me all the time, and I don't know. So anyway, so the key motivations:
Yeah.
want to possess knowledge, to understand the environment, to have everything figured out as a way of defending defending the self from threats from the environment. Isn't that boring? Like I just sit around and just
Okay,
think
but
all the time.
but that's nothing wrong with that. It's funny because you're not saying that what you're reading is untrue. You're just criticizing the descriptors because you don't like it because you're like it doesn't make me sound like a fun person. Okay, let me ask you. Let me ask you this. This is a paragraph from the 5s.
Okay.
5s can get involved in work, reading, or in their own thoughts in such depth that they are often late for meetings and don't hear phone calls. They forget to eat or to take adequate care of themselves physically. They will live on a soda and candy bars or stay up all night writing a story or trying to solve an interesting problem. They will pore over the computer terminal for hours or disappear into the stacks of the local library, only to emerge 5 minutes before closing with an armload of books as they head to the nearest coffee shop to continue reading.
No, maybe. No.
No?
First of all, I've never forgotten to eat. So I don't know where they came up with that. And some
Maybe you're a 7. Maybe for some reason when you took this test again, you're not a 5. Maybe you're more of a 7. Because if you
let me
don't resonate with it.
let me find, let's see, what page are you on?
Oh, this was since I am. So my score, my second highest scores were a 3 and a 5. And so I have the 5 outline too. Because that's my
Oh, I
second
see.
highest.
I see. Um,
And, I don't fully resonate with everything that's a five, which is probably why it's my second highest. But here's the thing. Here's another one for fives. In brief, five fives want to understand reality, to possess knowledge, to find a niche for themselves that others have not explored, to be free to explore their own inner worlds, to have sufficient solitude and time for their projects, to feel confident and capable, and to unsettle the unquestioned certainties of others.
I'm not saying I don't have five aspects, but I don't just sit around and just think about my own life all day. Do I? It just seemed very self-absorbed, and I don't consider myself to be super self-absorbed. So let me go back to my business personality thing for a second.
But here's the thing, for
Yeah.
eights, they say like they have a lot of very descriptors that I don't think like I'm not all the time either. But I can see how my personality would sometimes fit those descriptors. So basically, do you think you're a seven, the enthusiast, or you feel like you still haven't found like you need to take the test again?
I think I'm going to take it a third time. I'm going to go for best out of 3.
Take it
Should I
with another one. Yeah.
take with the other one again?
Truity or not, Enneagram Institute, maybe use one of the other ones like yeah, just one of the other ones like what's another one? Cloverleaf or Crystal or your Enneagram coach. Because if you don't feel like the five resonates with you, but I do want you to dig deep with that. Is it because it
Okay.
really doesn't resonate with you, or doesn't represent you rather, or is
Yeah.
it because you just don't like it and that's not who you want to be?
It's not who I want to be. It sounds super boring. It
See, that's why
sounds
I'm just like, but it doesn't sound boring.
there was a lot of when you read the whole description, there's a lot of um, spending time alone and isolation, and I don't think I do that. I like people. I chose a profession that is very involved with people, and so I don't. And I spend a lot of time thinking about how to make my clients happy and how they're going to look their best. So when I was reading the way the five description came out,
Spend a lot of time thinking. That's interesting choice of words.
no, I spent a lot of time preparing. Let me change my words so I don't appear to be this. And I don't want to offend any of your listeners who also got
A five.
stuck with
A five
being
is
a
good.
five.
I think you're more of a five than you think, because, and this is probably why I was that five came in second along with three with me. Is I'm an extrovert. I like people, but I also like my time to think and do things and to work on things and to understand things. But I don't think that is boring, because they said at their best, fives are visionary, pioneering, innovative, objective, understanding, playful, compassionate, and non attached. But that was like a good quality, because that sometimes having too much attachment is what holds people back, because they're too attached to others and too attached to what other people think and all of that. And so they're saying that is a good quality, that you aren't attached. So I don't know. I don't think fives are boring. I just don't think, I think you're in denial, frankly. Yep, you guys, it's the eight coming out. This is it. I'm bullying her.
Well, I'm going to think about this some more. And I'll think about taking another test to see which one.
It says type fives exemplifies the human desire to understand, to look beneath the surface of things, and to arrive at deeper insights about reality. And I feel like, look, okay, when I have conversations with you, that is exactly what you're doing. Well, why? So what would make someone blah blah blah? I mean, like, this is literally like
Nerd.
you.
It sounds like nerd. Me and my books, and I have to go to the coffee shop to finish.
I'm just saying. Understanding the world and giving the unlimited power of imagination as a way of escaping from the aspects of reality. I don't know. Okay. We can circle back to these, but I want you to get into astrology so we can just pull all of these things together.
Okay.
Libra.
So, yeah. Now, I will say that I've been into astrology for a long time. I'm not a professional. I don't read cards. I don't know a lot about rising and moon signs and all that other stuff either. But the sun sign astrology I've been looking at a long time, and I think there's so many truths to the overarching descriptions of the signs. I don't necessarily go to the day-to-day things, where they tell you every day this is supposed to happen. You might trip over a rock or you might eat some bad fish. I don't do that. But when I look at the descriptions, I'm like, man, this is really across the board. So Nache asked me which website I use the most to find things, and I go to astrostyle.com. And I'm a Libra and Nache is an Aries. And interestingly enough, my daughter is an Aries. And if you know anything about astrology, you'll know that opposite signs find each other and they balance each other out. And there are things that I need to learn from Aries that I don't apply to my everyday life. So, for instance, Aries are doers, and Libras are thinkers.
Just like a five. Interesting.
I
Huh.
don't
That's
appreciate this.
that's interesting how that lines up. Please go ahead. please, please, please tell me more.
Once
Tell
again,
me more.
Libra
Thinker.
symbolizes scales of justice, epitomizes balance and fairness. Oh, the essence of Libra energy is charming, lovable, fair, sincere, sharing, beautiful, and hopelessly romantic. Yeah. So, anyway, I'm sure most of you have heard about your sign. You might not believe in it. A lot of people don't. But there are certain things that you can pull out from it that if you look at it, then you'll notice that there are some underlying similarities between all the people that you know that were born under specific sun signs. So when I had my daughter, she is very opposite of me. We get along most of the time, but she's a very dive in heads first type of person. And so she needs to learn from me how to think about what she's doing before she does it and to, just be a little bit more observant of her surroundings. Whereas I might spend too much time observing before I dive into something. So I need to learn that balance from her. So, as an Aries, do you feel like you fit the Aries descriptor?
100%. Like, and this is the thing what I'll say about astrology too, because I don't do like kind of the where I read my, you know, horoscope every day. But I do think there is something there because even if you ask my mom as a child, did I kind of fit the Aries mold? She would say yes. So it's not like I think sometimes people think like if you read something enough, you'll become it. But it was like before I even knew what astrology was, I was already living up to my sign, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But for Aries, it said, ruled by the headstrong and determined ram, Aries energy can be stubborn and willful. It causes us to dig in our heels and stand our ground and refuse to be pushed around. Under the influence of an Aries planetary transit, we may butt our own metaphorical ram's horn against the same obstacle until we break it down, often with the sheer force of will. And then they have some other stuff here too, like the essence of Aries energy shows up as encouraging, unstoppable, bold, devoted, heroic, and caring. And I think that's true because it kind of even goes to what the Enneagram was saying. I take care of my people, my circle. I take care of just people around me also, just in general, like strangers, like I am even though I can be sometimes headstrong and very vocal, I do take care of the like people, especially those in my circle, and I want the best for everybody around me, which is why sometimes I could be a bully because I see the potential in people and I want them to live up to their fullest potential.
I agree with that
Um,
100%.
you know? And so yeah, so I 100% agree with that. And it was just interesting. Yeah, it was interesting reading the Libra stuff because they were saying, of course, Libra is the opposite sign of Aries, but it says the relationship between Libra and Aries are paramount, or it's paramount for Libras who find balance in companionship. So I thought that was interesting what you said about your daughter, because she will probably inspire you to be bolder,
That's for
you know?
sure. That's for sure.
They love harmonious partnerships with fashionable mates, especially those who make attractive arm candy.
Yes, that's the truest thing that we've said today.
Oh my goodness, that's funny. So no, so I think there's something there with the Aries. I think it links into the Enneagram 8, and it's funny because I feel like I use that information to understand better like why I do what I do, and I feel like it helps fuel me to continue doing things, and I just have a better understanding of like why I like to do a million things, but why I like to be the best at whatever I end up doing, and why I do push others around me so hard, and the what to be mindful of, so I'm not kind of, overwhelming. And so yeah, I find these like really helpful, the astrology and the Enneagram.
My question for you is, have you ever subconsciously discriminated against somebody because of their astrological sign?
Well, investigator. But an investigator question. No, because normally I don't even know someone's sign. So I think like even a better question is if someone had a more, what would the word be, like not domineering personality, would I view them as weak, right?
Did you say that was a better question? Are you dominating
What?
over the question that I asked?
Not a better, but maybe more.
No.
I'm changing the question because I normally don't even know what sign People are, but I do. You just know people's personalities, right? But I don't discriminate over people's personalities because I respect that we all bring something different to the table. And it's funny because when I look at people around me, most people around me aren't necessarily Aries or Enneagram 8s. They're different because I do value having different perspectives around me because that I find balance. And so no. So to answer your good question, your great question. No, I do not.
Okay.
How
Okay.
about you? Do you find yourself comparing yourself to others or judging others based on their sign or personality?
Well, in the past, like I said, I've been following astrology for a long time. I remember reading about stuff when I was in my teens. And in the past, I have used it to protect myself. So I'll say,
Mm,
oh, this person is such and such. So I'm not going to fool with them because they might not disagree. They might not agree with how I do things, or I just use it as a form of protection. So
mm.
now as I've gotten older, I've learned to appreciate the differences and what people can bring to me. Like, had I known you were an Aries when I met you, I probably would not
Wow,
be.
she would have discriminated against me. Y'all hear this? Just like a 5, isolating, detached, extreme.
The fire, but see, fire and air, right? You need air to make your fire be to burn brighter.
Yes, I agree.
But when you take away the air in the shade, this is why you need me around.
The
Take away the
fire.
air, you suffocate. That's
No,
right.
true. True. Now, I will say, for example, it's my mom's birthday today, and she's a Gemini. So I may have said things like Geminis are crazy, and so are Scorpios.
But the Scorpio one is true. But I love Gemini.
But usually that's only joking, but it is interesting how people live up to their signs, the good and the challenging part of their signs.
Right. I think there is balance in all of the signs. So just like with the Enneagram, like there was good parts and there were bad part. Well, quote unquote, there's no good and bad. There just is. Some people would like the drama and the domineering side of the Aries, and some people are just drawn to it because it's exciting. Some people are drawn to the
Mm.
excitement of how fire signs just are very, I don't know.
I feel like as I've gotten older though, I've like mellowed out.
You
I feel like
think so?
I'm mellow. Yeah, like I feel like I don't know. I just don't. I feel like in my 20s, I was a little different and kind of more of kind of headstrong and more of like maybe some of that exhibiting some of that dominant personality that you'll read for Aries in Enneagram 8. But I feel like now that I'm in my 40s, I feel chill. But I mean, of course, I'm self assessing myself. But I just feel, I don't know. I
Yeah,
don't know.
and I am a risk taker, but I'm not. I take risk in a very Libra kind of balanced way. I'm going to take the risk, but I'm going to research it. I'm going to look at both sides.
We're going to research it?
Listen, listen here.
Interesting. This kind of fits. Go ahead. Keep talking.
All right. Okay, so I will say that when I read it from a Libra perspective, I like the way it sounds better. Maybe because the astrologers know how to put the words in and make me feel comfortable and valued. But that Enneagram test, it's like you like to sit alone by yourself for 5 days at a time. You don't like to talk to people. Man, 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 man.
I didn't read it like that at all. But you are a 5. You've even just what you've said, just some of like how you think, how you operate. I'm like, you're a freaking 5. I'm
Fine.
sorry. You got to become one with it.
Well, what? Yes, I'm going to ask you another question.
Oh,
Um,
of course.
as you
Investigator.
were as you were reading through, which which personalities did you feel that you wanted to add? Like, how did you to put more balance to you? So you got a lot of domineering, fire, blah 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 blah, blah headstrong. Were you looking at another personality type and saying, "Man, I wish I could be a little bit more like this"? Not that you would want to change anything, but just hypothetically.
I was looking at my scores, like my bottom 2 scores was type 2, the helper, and type 4, the individualist.
Mm.
And I was like, would I want a little bit more of that? Nah. And there's nothing wrong. We need the type 2s, type 4. So if you type 2, type 4, I love you. I love you. I just don't want to be like, that's just not in my nature. And I just don't, this is not me. But I would say maybe the Peacemaker one. That was like third from the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And the Peacemaker, just to remind everybody, is the easygoing, self-effacing type, receptive, reassuring, agreeable, and complacent.
Mm.
And which seems, of course, that's not all to the Peacemaker. There's like some other stuff that was like the quick thing. But I think with the Peacemaker, I envision, and I would have to read their whole thing, is they're more like go with the flow without overthinking things or having to be the best or like having to get their way or whatever it might be. And so more of that might be good. How about you?
Obviously, I want to be an enthusiast. It's obvious because I want to be fun loving and spontaneous and versatile and just something about that that's so appealing. But to be completely honest, I'm not spontaneous whatsoever. I'm just not spontaneous. But
See?
that doesn't mean I'm opposed to it. Like,
I knew that first test you answered based on what you wanted to be.
you gotta treat me this way? Why you gotta tell me when you're right yeah, I don't like it. But anyway,
But no, but that's what you want to lean towards, right?
that's
Which I
what I
get.
and I think that's why in my main friendships are fire signs because I cannot be that spontaneous person by myself. So I need to latch on to other people who have that fiery act first, think second.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that, but I just don't want to do it for myself.
It's interesting. 7 was like fifth on my list ish, just knowing that 3 and 5 were tied. But I feel like I do have a spontaneous side to me, not as much as I did when I was younger, which I don't like. I wish I was more spontaneous. I think I'm like more reserved now, which is affecting my spontaneity. So I have a little bit of it left, like in the jar. But
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so no, I get that one. Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, this has been a good conversation. I hope, guys, just us breaking down our astrological signs and Enneagram results and you hearing how we think through it will help you think through what your sign is and have those conversations with your friends and family about if your personality type is true or not and what are some good and not so good things.
What would be
Yeah.
so interesting for me is I would love to know your listener percentage. If most of the people who listen to this go ahead and take those quizzes or let us know their astrology sign, your listeners are mostly creative professionals. They have some kind of business or they're involved in making money from their, I don't know, what would you say most of your listeners are?
I think they're majority creatives, have career women that have started or are thinking about starting a side hustle. And then I feel like the other half are women who own their own businesses.
I would love to know the breakdown of what they report.
Under the Instagram post for this page, regardless of when you hear this, put your Enneagram test results there or just put it on the show notes page when you go to nachesnow.com/134. Just put your results. Put type A, type 3, type 5, whatever.
And the sign and your astrological sign.
Oh, yeah, and the sign. So, what type you are, your highest type, and then what sign. And then I'll try to put something out in the newsletter too. I'll do a little survey in the newsletter and ask people to do that. That would be pretty cool.
I don't think you understand. That excites me. And now I realize that I really am.
The investigator!
I really hope people do it. It's going to be so fun.
Okay. I can see right now in the little library reading up on Enneagrams. Replace the library with your office and the internet.
Okay. You got me.
You are. When I look at this, it's even funny. So, you guys, it's funny. I'm kind of like, talk about spontaneous. I guess I am kind of spontaneous, but I like to do just things off the cuff. Like, normally, if I was going to do even an episode by myself, I might do just a little bit of research. But if I'm talking about something I know, I'll just be like, ba, 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 ba. Not with LaKaye. LaKaye, like, okay, what websites are we referencing? Like, I need to do my research beforehand. I'm like, oh shoot, let me structure this for the investigator.
I can't let your listeners down. I don't want to bring down the beauty and the intelligence of your podcast by sounding crazy. So I have to go and do my research ahead of time.
No, which I appreciate. And it's not to say I don't do the research, but it's just funny because I just love how you like that. You require more structure, which is funny because I'm always talking about processes, this and that, but I can operate in an unstructured world, but I can tell, no, you need structure.
I'm falling asleep just listening to that definition. Who wants structure? I want fun and spontaneity. Anyway, so you all make sure that if you're a 5, make sure that you put your information there so we could commiserate with our need for information.
Yes. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Please, if you're on the newsletter list, remember to fill out the survey. If you're not on the newsletter list, what? nachesnow.com/newsletter to get on it. You might miss the survey, but that's okay. Just put it under the post what your type is and what your astrological sign is. And if you love this episode, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and give me 5 stars. Thanks for all of you guys who've done it already. If you're on YouTube, a thumbs up. Greatly appreciate that. Of course, you can find the show notes for this page at nachesnow.com/134. And okay, please tell them where they can find you.
Well, I have my Instagram pages where I'm most active. So for my photography, if you're in the DMV area, anywhere near Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina too, you can find me at LaKaye Photo. And also I am a fine artist and I have my work on at Queens and Canvas on Instagram.
Perfect. And, if you ever need somebody to give you a kick in the butt and get you organized, as a type 8, I'm here for you. Consulting services open. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bye.